seek.
In a single day, this 3-year-old Belgian Malinois named Harriet may be called to check commuter railroad cars, abandon briefcases, or practice her skills in a classroom like this, where she has never been before. Harriet is a bomb-sniffing dog in the Metro Police Department in Chicago.
She went right over there, and as soon as she put her nose on it, she hit it. And that's what I want.
Her handler, Joshua Klima, says Harriet is more than just a dog. She is his partner.
My life is in her hands, her life is in my hands, and when it comes down to it, I'm going to go to a call where they want me to sniff a bag or they want me to sniff a train, and God only knows how much time I have. Is there a timer? Is there somebody hiding in the bushes waiting to blow us up? We don't know that, and so I want her to work as productive as possible, and if I'm mean and cruel to her, she's not going to work for me. So I want her to know that she can trust me. I'm not going to put her in a situation where she's going to get hurt, but if it comes down to it, she and I are going to go together because I'm not going to leave her.
For centuries, dogs have been serving humans, whether they pulled sleds, guarded the house, or herded sheep. But now they're even sniffing for bombs. Throughout history, dogs have had a purpose and had to work to earn their keep.
My main goal is to get her out of the car, which my goal every day is to have her out of the car working for about 5 hours out of 8.
Now, Harriet doesn't have to work for a meal, but Klima says she still has to earn her toy and playtime.
If she went to work for 2 or 3 days and was really sloughing off, there's no toys in the yard. You get to eat, go to the kennel, and go to work. And it kind of clicks like, well, wait, if I don't do what I'm supposed to do, then I don't get these things.
I know you want a belly rub, don't you? Give me just feel like, oh yeah, oh daddy, oh.
Though there are still hard-working dogs like Harriet, the typical dog-human relationship has evolved beyond a working relationship.
She's the queen. I'm the guest in the house. It's her way or the highway. But I think it's because I spoiled her. I let her do what she wants.
Cleta Wong is talking about her 6-year-old Chihuahua Terrier mix named Roxy. Roxy has no function other than to keep Wong company and get spoiled.
She likes steak. Steak and rice. She loves carrots. So sometimes I get takeout from Basil Thai, and I'll just share a couple carrots with her. But she loves those carrots. She loves apples. But yeah, likes the rice a lot. But definitely meat. Any type of chicken, like chicken breast, she'll eat that immediately. And pizza. She likes pizza. Yeah.
Wong is a resident director at the University of Illinois. She says she is focused on her career, so Roxy is the perfect companion.
Very low maintenance versus a relationship. I feel like there's just so much work to put into that. And I have developed working relationships with colleagues and my students, and I feel like I want to focus on developing those relationships versus a significant other, which I have plenty of time for. So
Wong is part of a growing population of pet owners, according to Sarah Albert, a teaching associate in the Department of Animal Science at the University of Illinois. Albert says the creation of the middle class led to the rise of pet ownership. In the last century, she says there has been a shift in the way people treat their dogs.
I think probably the best way to kind of describe the evolution has been from the barn to the backyard to the bedroom. So barn being that dogs used to be very function-based. We used to breed and raise dogs for a specific function, and that would vary from protection and guarding to herding livestock to just general farm work to all varieties of different roles. And then they went to the backyard as becoming more companion animals, being pets more specifically, where they were just kind of kept outside, but they really didn't have a true function. And then I say bedroom is that they're becoming more like family members. And actually, I'd say the largest majority of people who own dogs in the U.S. think of their dogs as true family members.
In fact, recent surveys of U.S. pet owners found that 8 out of 10 pet owners now consider their pets a member of the family, and about half of them would call themselves pet parents and not pet owners.
So we have a lot of people who are working longer hours. They're making slightly more money in the household as a whole. So they have more disposable income, and they can use that to spend on their pets. So even when they do have children, they have a little bit more disposable income to spend on pets.
Gary Herzog is the owner of Prairieland Feeds in Savoy. During his 30 years in business, he has witnessed the change in the relationship humans have with their dogs.
And I don't know if it's the empty nester syndrome going on or if it's just there's more single people out there, but that pet is providing a very needed piece of love in the people's lives, and it fills a huge void.
According to an article from the New York Post, most pet owners these days are women in their 20s and 30s who are postponing families for later in life, and baby boomers who are now empty nesters. Patrick Harrington owns Canine Design Dog Resort in Danville, Illinois. He says when clients drop off their pets for grooming or boarding, it is very clear they are more than pet owners.
The super majority of the people, their doggy parents, they're dropping their child off. They want a place that is clean, safe, dry, cool in the summer, warm in the winter, where their dogs get to be socialized, get to play with their friends, get to, interact with myself as well as my daughter and my dog walkers.
Albert says this transition to pet parent is the result of people spending more time with their dogs.
We really bring them into our lives and bring them into our homes and get that one-on-one time now where they're like really integrated into our family and our routine. And I think we see their individual personalities much more than we used to. So we get to know their little quirks and we get to know, their habits and their routines too, and we get to know who they are as individuals in the same way that we get to understand one another as individuals. And so I think we kind of make those kinds of parallels between our human companions and our dog and cat companions.
I spend probably more time with her 5 days a week than I do with my wife and my kids because we're working, we're training.
Yeah, it's probably.
But science suggests our parental bond to our pets can also be the result of hormones.
So we know that our interactions with dogs and cats produces oxytocin, which is that same motherly bonding hormone that we see with new mothers and their infants. And oxytocin we also see between partners, we see it between mother-child, father-child, between friends. So it's no wonder that we feel that same connection because we're feeling the same emotional hormonal response.
As Americans' love for their canine companions grows, so does the amount of money they spend on them. The American Pet Products Association estimates pet owners will spend more than $60 billion on their pets this year. That's more than triple what it was 2 decades ago.
Since pets are now family, we are feeding them the same way we would want to feed ourselves. And in the last 5 to 10 years, there's just been an explosion in the very, very, very high-end quality of pet food. Most of the high-end brands that we carry are all human grade. I mean, it is all human grade. You don't see byproducts. You don't see the word meal. You don't see, it's not ground up fish bones and, it is chicken breast. It is salmon, and it's not the tail and the fin.
While pet food makes up the largest portion of money we spend on our pets, pet accessories have also become popular.
People started treating their animals like kids, and the products appeared that let you continue to keep them like kids, and I think they just kept building on top of each other one by one.
The growth of the supply side or the accessory supply side has absolutely mushroomed. And I think there are just thousands of people out there that are scratching their head every day trying to figure out what's the next coolest thing. Some sort of cool little bandana or some little glow-in-the-dark trigger and collars that have lights on them. And I mean, there's just so many accessories. And I think the reason that has moved along too is because Roscoe, I keep saying using Roscoe, is in the house now. And if you're looking at your dog every day and you're interacting, and I think people are spending a lot more time with their pets, they want to see the cool stuff.
People are also investing in services for their pets. At Canine Design, Harrington's wife runs the Doggy Spa, where dogs can get their hair styled. They also offer physical therapy, massage and water therapy, and boarding just for the dogs. Harrington said he called his business a resort because he didn't like the idea of a kennel.
It just sounds a little nicer. You know, you want to go to a weekend ski resort, you know, that sounds, ooh. But or ski chalet, you know, when you go skiing in the Alps or something, or Tahoe. But yeah.
While the name is important, Harrington says peace of mind matters most. Pet parents want to make sure their dog is happy while they are away, so he sends them videos and pictures of their dogs during playtime.
I'll call you the jumping bean here. I'll call you the jumping bean. Yes. I also let clients come and stage the kennel that they want. So I tell them bring food, toys, treats, and bedding, and shot records. They fill out paperwork so they become a client. There's rules that we have here. But I allow them to go in there with their dog, lay their bedding down. People are very particular about their bedding. I mean, they want the bed in the corner. They want the little blankie over here, okay? The two toys, they have to be up in the far corner of the quilt. And then there's a little mat here, like a little bath mat that's got to go in front. And I'm telling you, one client's like that. If you put this over there and that over there, it's wrong.
But places like Harrington's Dog Resort come at a cost, and high-end dog food and specialty collars can run anywhere from $30 to $100.
You know, the empty nesters, look at their discretionary income as a economic group of people. It's powerful. They have the money to buy the $50, $60, $70, $80 a bag dog food and the $30, $40, $50 bowls that are designer bowls and the $60 to $100 designer raincoat or whatever. And they like it. I mean, that gives them a great sense of satisfaction to see their puppy or their dog in such high quality environment. They have the money.
And Herzog says it's obvious who spoils their pets.
And whatever little Fifi wants, Fifi's gonna get, you know, and Fifi can do no wrong.
But when dogs are treated like children, new issues can arise. Jenna Zeidler teaches training courses at the Dog Training Club of Champaign-Urbana. She says she's seen a new phenomenon emerge in the last decade where people want their dogs to be with them everywhere they go.
The best example is you're going to a parade, like 4th of July parade with your family, and people will say, oh, we want the whole family there, you know, we're going to take our dog with us. And I'd say the vast majority of dogs do not want to be in that situation with sirens and guns and, you know, bands and people crowding around them and, you know, so many feet on the street and, you know, kids rushing out to get candy and all that. You see so many dogs at parades that are like either huddled between their owner's feet, just like faces wrinkled, like spoonulated tongues, panting their heads off, can't handle the stress of that situation.
There are some things that make us very different than our dogs, and if we forget what makes a dog unique, I don't want to say that they can suffer, but it may not play the best into it. So we also have tended to see a lot of dogs that have behavioral issues that we didn't see previously, where you have dogs that aren't being exercised enough or are being left at home for long periods of time. And you wouldn't see that in the past because they had a job, they had a function, and they probably worked all day and they worked really hard and they were tired at the end of the day. Whereas now they're kind of cooped up.
Elizabeth Riddle runs the Central Illinois German Shepherd Dog Rescue. She says you can't baby a working dog, they need a job.
Your dog doesn't become part of your family, you become a pack. And that's how it has to be. And if you don't do that, there will be instant dysfunction. If you treat a German Shepherd like it's a baby, it will take over your house.
Zeidler says she has seen some of these behavior issues.
The way we parent now is different from the way we parented, 20, 30 years ago. You rationalize with your kid, you ran out into the street. That was a bad decision because you can get run over. So next time, what are you going to do? And you can't rationalize with a dog. You can't train a dog by saying, oh, you made a really bad choice there. Next time, this is the reason why you should make the better choice. You need to give dogs such clear boundaries of what they can do and what they can't do, which people don't do that with kids anymore because you want them to think for themselves and be independent eventually, and dogs will never be independent.
Dogs' dependence on people isn't the only thing appealing about them. For many, it's their non-judgmental attitude that makes them so lovable.
There's really cool reading to the dogs programs where they have dogs sit down and they have kids who sit with the dogs and they read to the dog because the dog is non-judgmental. So maybe they're too nervous to read in front of their parents or their friends or their teacher in case they mess up. You sit in front of the dog just sits there and listens, he doesn't care, but the child gets to practice reading and improving those skills essentially. So.
Elizabeth Jocham volunteers with her dog Pi at the Children's Orpheum Museum in Champaign. She says programs like this really help.
These Reading to Dogs programs are aimed at getting shyer children to read comfortably because the dog isn't judgmental. And so they can read to the dog, and the dog is always happy about it. You know, the dog doesn't care if they take a long time to pronounce a word or anything like that. So it helps give them a little confidence usually.
And the pets, let's face it, that's that unconditional love. Pets don't talk back. And that may turn around to actually not be a good thing in the long term, because people, we all need to understand if you say something and you hurt somebody's feelings, they're going to let you know. It's going to show up in a relationship. With a pet, they just sit there and they'll, for the most part, will probably take it and say, well, this is what I got, you know, I just have to deal with it. So.
Joy Davey is a licensed clinical professional counselor who has studied human relationships with their pets.
With a dog, for example, you can nurture on your terms. If you feel like being nurturing tonight and you don't feel like being nurturing for the next 5 nights in a row, that's fine. It's not so okay with a child. You have to be there all the time. You know, the dog will accept whatever you offer, and they don't expect anything. Kids are different, so.
I think as we kind of get into an age where we don't really interact with people so much, you know, everybody always talks about how we're not interacting face to face with each other. We tend to still need that in our lives, and we get that a lot, I think, from our pets.
Davey says that unconditional love may fill a void even when there is a house full of people.
Ollie! They're right next to us. They're our greatest fans. And you could be in a house with everybody on his or her own, you know, iPad, smartphone, laptop, whatever, all over TV, whatever, all over the house. Everybody's on whatever they want to be on. But your Labrador Retriever is sleeping with his head on your foot. He's right there. He's with you. And so I think they are really solving the problem of loneliness that we have now.
The topic of dogs as children recently sparked the interest of Pope Francis. Last June, the Pope spoke out, urging people not to use dogs and cats as replacements for children. Sean Reeves is the director of religious education for the Newman Center in Champaign. He says while pets are fun, our relationship with them is not the same as a human connection.
He in no way, I think, was saying don't get a pet. I think what he was saying is that be certain that you have a certain harmony, a spiritual harmony in your life, that you are balancing relationships appropriately, and you're not replacing relationships with other relationships, that you're not pushing out of your life a relationship that ought to be there for your human flourishing, that your humanity is designed to have incorporated into it.
It's complicated with people, but with an animal, it's like it's a fresh start every minute, and every idea you have is the greatest idea. You know, you want to throw the ball? Great. You want to go for a walk? Great. You want to take a nap? Great. You know, everything you do is just exactly what they want to do. What person can give you that? No person can.
Whether someone's dog is their surrogate child or not, many people consider their pet a member of the family. And when the pet's time has come, sometimes it can be hard to let them go.
Dogs tend to have a lot of features that are what we call neoteny or neotenized features, where they kind of are baby-like or childlike, and so they kind of evoke that nurturing sensation or instinct in people, and so I think a lot of that has to play into it.
You know, I think one of my favorite quotes is, you know, dogs, their only fault is that they don't live long enough. Yeah. And especially now that we see them as a member of the family, and they're our babies, you know.
That's Lee McDonald, a second-year veterinary student at the University of Illinois and a volunteer for the CARE hotline. The hotline takes calls from across the country for people who are struggling with the death of a pet.
A lot of times people will call because they don't really know who else to turn to. You know, it may have been a few months now since they've lost their cat or their dog, and everyone has kind of told them, you should be moving on. It's just a dog. Go buy another cat. And people, they don't know. They say, I feel like I shouldn't be sad, and they feel guilty for still having grief, and they shouldn't.
It's that desire to keep our pets alive that is creating more demand for medical services, especially cancer treatment. Dr. Laura Garrett is a veterinary oncologist at the University of Illinois. She says she has seen the field of veterinary oncology grow since she started practicing medicine 25 years ago.
Definitely a big field now. Some of that is because owners are more dedicated. There's potentially more disposable income. Some of it is that we do have more therapies. We know more about it. So it's multifactorial how and why people are choosing to treat cancer more.
Despite medical advancement and more treatment options, eventually we all have to say goodbye to our pets.
It's pretty well known that we grieve animals in the same way that we would grieve a human companion. And while I think veterinary medicine has caught up with that, I think the general public hasn't. A lot of people feel that their loss of a pet isn't worthy of grief. They feel that society feels that they should just be right back to how they were feeling once they lose a pet. But I think the veterinary field has recognized it, and the fact that they're coming out with all of these new advancements to help the pets get along much longer.
While some people don't understand how the loss of an animal could be so difficult, Joy Davies says what her clients face is what she calls disenfranchised grief, a grief for which you don't get much support. But she says what her clients struggle with most is guilt.
People tend to blame themselves perhaps unnecessarily, and in the moment they can't see that it's unnecessarily. They think, I shouldn't have euthanized my animal so soon. Or I should have euthanized my animal sooner. Or I should have fed better quality food. Or I should have played with them more. Or they'll find something, the mind finds something to feel guilty about.
They feel guilty just for the fact that they feel maybe they failed their pet because they assume that kind of lifetime responsibility. I think that's what makes them a little bit different than children. With children, you raise them and eventually they go out on their own, whereas with pets, you assume a lifetime responsibility for their care. And they're pretty much dependent on you like a toddler for everything. They're there they need you for walking and going outside and feeding and everything. So that nurturing effect really plays in there, and I think that why it's such a strain is because it's kind of like losing a child, essentially. You lose somebody who's dependent on you.
For many people struggling with the loss of a pet, they simply feel ashamed that they care so much about an animal.
One thing that I hear a lot is, I'm crying more about my cat than I cried about my mother, and I'm so ashamed. I shouldn't feel that much about a cat, but I do. And as we talk about it, it's not necessarily that they loved the cat more than they loved their mother. It's just, as you said, different. It's different. The thing about your cat or your house rabbit or your dog is that they are with you more than a person can possibly be. You have more physical touch with your pet than you do with any person, because they sit on your lap or they lie on your foot. And when you go from the computer to the coffee pot, to the back window, to the easy chair, wherever you go around the house, they're right there with you. No person does that. And whenever you need that company, they're available, and they have nothing else to do but to be with you. And you don't get that from a person.
And the industry is starting to recognize the realities of pet grief.
With the more recent idea of pets are family and how much they mean to us, there's a lot of new ways that people have been memorializing pets.
People can plant a tree, have a burial with a stone in a pet cemetery, cremate a pet with a special urn, or simply gather a box of their pet's things and keep it on a shelf where only they know about it.
It may not be for everyone, but people do stuff their pets, or do a freeze dried, and it's it might be a little out there for some people, but to others, that's how they want to, you know, have their pet with them, and it means a lot to them.
No matter how someone chooses to mourn the loss of a pet, Davy says memorializing is an important step in the grieving process.
People like to take an action at a certain point. They like to feel they're doing something about something. So if you memorialize, that feels active, and that feels like you're taking some initiative, and maybe you'll feel better.
It is clear that our relationship with dogs is changing, from the way we grieve when they leave us to the particular care we give them while they are here. Even working dogs seem to touch people's lives.
They do anything to really make you happy, even when you get mad at them. They put their ears down, but there's that unconditional love like your house dog, and it's the same here.
Harriet, who's a good girl?
From old barns like this to the backyard and then to the bedroom, dogs have worked their way into the lives and hearts of many Americans.
So I figured, okay, I need something to talk to, like a companion of some sort. Just like to come home and not like be alone completely, because I hate being alone. I thought about getting a fish, but definitely a dog, because I mean there's more to do with her. You know, we go on walks every day. We go to the Arboretum every evening, and we watch TV together. She doesn't help me cook, but when I'm cooking, she'll like eat the scraps that I fall, like after like cutting up vegetables or something. I'm like, okay, well, here's a piece. So, but it's great to have her as like company. Oh, you're hungry, right? You're hungry?
I can't imagine how further it could go. If you're sleeping in bed with your owners, I mean, I guess that means you've made it, you know.
In Champaign, for UI7 News, I'm Caitlin Bain.